guys, welcome to a new episode of Records Near Me. Thank you so much for your patience. I know it's been 3 whole weeks since the last episode, but don't worry because that just means you only have to wait 1 week instead of 2 for the next one. This episode got delayed because I was traveling around Peru with my best friend. By the way, Peru is a beautiful country full of amazing people, so if you ever get the chance to go, take it! I would go back in a heartbeat. But, speaking of beautiful places, in episode 5 of Records Near Me, I'm taking you to Ithaca, New York. That's right, folks, there's more to New York State than just New York City. Upstate New York is absolutely gorgeous. I would know. I spent the first 14 years of my life living there. Not in Ithaca, but not too far away. Just 2 lakes to the left in Hammondsport. Once voted the coolest small town in America. Not to brag. But anyways, this episode is all about Angry Mom Records in Ithaca. I'll be talking with the owner and the manager. Yeah, you heard right. 2-for-1 interview, so get ready. Angry Mom is located downtown in Ithaca Commons in the basement of Autumn Leaves Used Bookstore. So it's kind of easy to miss. But don't. Definitely go check it out. But that's enough from me. Let's go ahead and get to the interview. Records near me. Let's go and see what lies behind a record store's mind. If you're lost, get found. Take in the sound. It's the place to go when you're feeling low. So, if you don't mind, I'll share what we find. I'll make a podcast, so all this will last. If you're lost, get found. Take in the sound. It's the place to go. So let's start the show. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Records Near Me. Today I'm at Angry Mom Records in Ithaca, New York, and I'm joined by owner George Johann and Mr. Manager Adam Southard. All right, so tell me George, when did you open the store?
2009.
Okay, 2009, and what were you doing before then? What made you open a record store?
So before that I've been doing record shows, online sales. Before that I used to manage a place called Midnight Records in New York City.
Okay.
And just sort of like all lined up, the guy that owns this building offered me the opportunity to open up something in the basement, and I took it.
Nice. All right. So have you always been doing the record business? You said you're doing shows and you're working at Midnight Records in New York City. Is that
I went to school for cartooning, actually.
Cartooning, really?
And I did 1 year in commercial art, and at the same time I was starting to sell records, and I hated doing the commercial art, and I love selling records, so that's what happened.
All right. Okay. So when somebody walks into the store and they ask, recommend me something, what's your guys' process? How do you go about
the first thing I say is like, what is in your head right now? Like, what's the last thing you listened to that like stuck with you, and why? And then I kind of go from there. And that can be easy and fun, or like really difficult and challenging and fun, or just totally hard and like, oh my God, I don't know what you're looking for.
Yeah,
that's true.
But try to read them, like you're always trying to like defy the stigma of like the record store clerk snobbery thing and like just projecting good records, so like I'm hesitant to just be like, if someone asks for a recommendation to me, to be like, this album is perfect and amazing and I love it, it's more like it's all about them, and I just want them to be stoked. So.
Yeah, you want to find like a jumping off point, like where are they at in the grand scheme of things. Like,
yeah, that makes sense. So I have to ask, what's the story behind the name?
I got yelled at a lot for playing loud music when I was a kid.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I went to a Catholic school, and my parents would just take my CDs away. I bought Enema of the State by Blink-182 like 12 times. It just had to keep getting rebought and hidden in my Garfield comics and stuff like that. So yeah.
Parents always hate the new generation music for some reason.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
I look forward to my daughter listening to something terrible that I'm going to hate. That's how it's supposed to be. So.
That's so funny.
All right. And so, what did you do before you started working here?
I was living in Binghamton. I've been up here 5 years working here in Binghamton. I wasn't working in records at all. I was playing in bands, but I was always a customer up here. George put out a record by one of my bands, so we're friendly. And but what my actual job was, I was a roasting assistant at a coffee shop, like a small batch coffee roaster in Binghamton, and then I also did like property management of like student housing stuff.
Okay.
And it was like good money, a lot of hours, but I found myself just coming up here every weekend and spending most of the money on records. And so I was like, why don't I switch this and move up here? And at the same time, I think I just sort of said I was thinking about coming up here, and George had mentioned that one of his like longtime employees was going to be leaving in a few months, so it just kind of timed out. And I was like, I would rather be doing this than anything. So
Nice.
It was almost like a high fidelity type. Like he would hang out for a long time.
Yes, I would take smoke breaks.
Yeah.
I'd like come up to the counter with like this many records, set them down, and be like, "I'm gonna go get some food. I'll be back," and then like listen for hours and just it was fun.
Wow. So it worked out well.
Yes.
That's awesome. So you guys are also a record label, is that right?
Yeah, we've been a little inactive the
Okay.
last couple of years.
Yeah.
I started doing a reissue project with this guy, Chris King, of pre-war Greek music, specifically like Northern Greek music. And then he got an offer from Third Man Records to continue the project. And I said to him, you got to do that. So, yeah.
All right. So kind of on a break from that then?
Yeah, we've done a couple local things. Did Adam's band.
That's
I've
cool.
done some tapes for some local people. There's stuff comes out every once in a while.
All right,
So.
all right.
Yeah.
Well, my next question was, what is your connection to the local music scene? So besides, I guess, releasing records on your label, do you ever sell their music in your store or anything? Or
Oh yeah, always sell local stuff.
Yeah.
Go to tons of shows when there were shows.
Okay. Yeah.
Involved with a bunch of the different promoters and people that book gigs and
Okay.
yeah.
So do you get a lot of people coming in to try and sell their music to you, or
Oh,
do
yeah.
you seek them out?
Oh no, they all come in. So.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
We have done in stores too.
Oh, you have?
Used to
Okay.
do a lot of in stores, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially on Record Store Day, we used to have like I think the most we ever had was a dozen bands
Oh,
one day.
wow.
So,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Mostly local or?
All
random?
local, all local.
All local? That's awesome. That's really great to hear. So being in Ithaca, what's your demographic?
Our demographic
Okay.
is all over the place. I mean, anything from, little kids coming in with like $3 to buy a Green Day CD or a Gorillaz CD, or like, people in their 70s or 60s that just started getting back into records over the pandemic and haven't thought about it in forever. People in their 30s who just got a record player for Christmas and they're like, oh, I don't know, I'll give it a shot. And, it's all over the place. People saying, oh, I used to have this record and I got all rid of them. We hear that story all the time. I didn't think I'd ever need these again. So, yeah, it's really all over the place.
Yeah.
All kinds of people.
All right.
The coolest thing I found is, growing up in record stores in the 80s and 90s, like if you saw a girl, it was a woman, I'm sorry. It was rare. And now it's like almost 50-50, which is amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. Wow. Yep, times are changing.
Yep, luckily.
Yes.
Thank goodness. So you mentioned that you were in a band. Are you still in the band?
Yeah.
Okay. Want to talk about the band?
Sure. The name of the band is 100% Black. We've been a band like 9 years now. Last time we played was quite a while ago, actually, at the Angry Mom 10th anniversary party. We played.
Nice.
And yeah, it's like noise rock sort of stuff. We get compared. The band that we've been compared to the most is the Butthole Surfers, or Budgie, which is two very different bands.
I love that.
The Budgie one is
I
amazing.
love the Budgie one.
And what's funny is the guy who said we sounded like Budgie was a roadie for the Butthole Surfers.
Oh my god.
So a guy who actually was like drove a hearse that the Butthole Surfers toured in,
Oh my gosh.
he was like, no, you don't sound like them. You sound like Budgie. And I was like, Budgie?
Oh my god.
But yeah, so we've been a band for a while. One of the guys in the band passed away, our friend Jeff, who also used to work at the store. He passed away a couple years ago, and so since then we've kind of been in a fractured state. We have a record that he was on that we are intending to still put out, but as you can imagine, it's kind of hard to listen and process. It isn't just like making a normal record anymore. It's kind of like hearing it and like processing, and like I can't listen to that for 2 months and stuff like that. But we've been like, at one point we had 8 people in the band. There's like 3 of us at the core, so we're still a band. We're kind of fragmented, but you know, it's just kind of the nature of the times. You know, without the pandemic, I think we would have just kind of had to take some time.
Yeah, all right.
But yeah, George put out our 7-inch. Yeah, it was awesome.
Nice.
It's very kind.
That's awesome.
No, it was actually it was Sunspells, which was our friend's band, not 100% Black, and this band Elsa and the Awesome Awesomes. That when I got here, I was like, oh shit, there's like really good stuff going on upstate. It was it was really good.
Wow.
It was encouraging. A band I was in before that is still a band, but I'm not a part of, called Underground River. We came up here once to play a show, and we walked into Angry Mom, and we didn't know these guys very well at all yet, and they had our record in all of their employee picks, and
It's a really good record.
we're just like, what? And like they started like talking to us like they knew us, and we were like, oh my God, they like us. Like, what is going on? So like the support I can, you know, outside of my role in the store now, like just being a local musician, not even Ithaca local, we were Binghamton local, and it was still like, you know, open arms, give us your record, you know, this is awesome.
It's really cool. So are there any other local musicians or bands that you want to shout out? I know it might be hard to pick favorites.
Well, it's so hard because the scene has gotten so different, and it's been on hold for so long.
Yeah.
I mean, I always shout out to everybody at Ithaca Underground, and I like what Electrozone's been doing also. So, but there's so many new bands all of a sudden that I haven't had a chance to see because they've just been online. But you know, stuff's gonna be happening.
Yeah.
I saw a band at the bowling alley a couple years ago now called New Motor Club.
Oh, they're so good.
That was like, you know, this thing happens that when you play in bands, like, you know, shows can kind of feel like you're just waiting to play. But when you are at a show and suddenly even if you are waiting to play or not, but you're just kind of waiting around, and then you suddenly feel like you bought tickets to see the band that's in front of you, that's like a rare thing, and that's kind of like what I wait for. And the last time it happened was when I saw that band, and I was like,
I think
oh
we
my
were
God.
even bowling.
Yeah, we stopped.
It's at a bowling alley, and like the other band was like, they were okay, but we had seen them a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And like we stopped, and like, we stopped bowling to go check this band out.
Yeah, it was
That's
awesome.
good. That's amazing. Wow, I want to go to a bowling alley that has live music.
It was awesome.
Amazing.
Our friend JT put this series together called Gutter Punk, and he would have free shows there, all ages. It was awesome.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, so I know we already talked about some local bands. Are there any underrated albums that you guys want to shout out? You think people need to get on?
One of my favorite artists who's like you know, Pitchfork will review them, but I feel like they are pretty underground and they should be more in the light, is Cindy Lee. They're based out of Toronto. I think there's 4 albums out now. They're just incredible. It's like a perfect marriage of like Lynchian sort of girl group 60s beehive hairdo meets like noise, and like it is like, you know, when a friend showed it to me the first time, he described it as like no wave doo-wop, and that was maybe a little bit of an overshot, but it is just incredible. And you know, I see a lot of people like them getting more attention, and I think, you know, they were going to actually play here because they were planning on moving from Toronto to Asheville, and they were going to do a tour on the way down, and they were like, yeah, I would love to play Ithaca, but then the pandemic happened, so I would say Cindy Lee is my pick for like just best thing you haven't heard.
Okay.
I don't even know if this is underground anymore, but like, do you know More Mother?
I don't think so.
Well, she's a rapper from Philadelphia.
Okay.
But she does a ton of projects, but the one she did that was called Irreversible Entanglements with like a free jazz backing is
that sounds really interesting.
Intense. It's
Okay.
incredible. Yeah.
What was the name of the one More Mother album that we sold the most of?
I don't remember.
Oh my god, it is like,
it's like if Gil Scott Heron was like pissed all the time
and like had the knowledge of Aphex Twin. Like, it's so challenging and like it's painful in all the right ways. Like, you feel this person's situation in a very visceral way. So yeah, I would say More Mother as well is just huge.
I'm really asking for myself so I can go check all these people
totally.
out.
Awesome.
But okay, have you guys ever been starstruck by somebody that's come into the shop? Get any?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I know the story you're going to tell already. I wish Seven was here to tell his version of it. So
I'll try to do
ready.
my best. So one night it was close to close, and a thing that I've always enjoyed doing that I eventually got these guys to do as well is comparing multiple pressings of the same record. So we were comparing an original mono Bob Dylan Blonde on Blonde to a reissue that bragged about like its high quality, right? So we're comparing them. And these guys, him and Dom, were working, and they were busy at the moment. And I see someone walk in, and I'm like starting to look around to them, like, and I'm like looking at him to make sure. And I'm like, and I walk up to George, and I was like, "That's Ian MacKaye." I was like, "Ian MacKaye is in the store right now," and they were like, "No, he's not." And I was like, "Right there," and like he's literally dressed like he was 20 years ago in the last Fugazi photo. Like, it's Ian MacKaye, and
gosh.
he starts to talk to us like super friendly. Like, I mean, I was starstruck, but like him and Dom kept their cool, so like we were able to kind of get through it. But what was crazy was he left, and we told our coworker Seven, and he was so mad because he had just left like right before Ian came. But coincidentally, the next day, Seven came in just to say hi and ask like what happened. And as we're retelling the story, Ian comes back in. And we were like, "Oh my God, he's back!" And he's like, "Hey guys, I had like an hour to kill because there's this like punk exhibit up at Cornell."
Oh, cool.
And he signed a CD for Seven, and Seven had to run outside and like cry because he was like so moved by it. And then I was like, you know what? I bet he'll come in again tomorrow, so I'm gonna bring in a Fugazi record and see if he shows up. And lo and behold, he came in again.
Wow.
And this time, like, insisted that we put on a Ted Nugent album that him and Henry Rollins loved when they were kids. And I was like, what am I doing? I'm listening to Ted Nugent with Ian MacKaye at my job for like the third day in a row. And now he knows my name. And then like
he's just hanging out.
Yeah, chilling.
Like,
and then like 6 months later, me and Seven were working one night. It was like in the winter, dead night. 10 minutes before close, he pops in. He's like, "Hey, I just want to stop by and say hey." And we were like looking at each other like, Ian MacKaye wants to stop by and say hey to us. Like, what is happening? And then we walked out and we were talking about it, and he was across the street and he's like, "Hey guys." And we're like, he's still saying hi to us. Like, what is happening? What is our life? So yeah, that for me is the big one. Sorry if that took up most of the...
Oh no, that was a good story.
the thing I love best about him is like there'd be all these kids that would like see him, and then they'd grab a Fugazi CD or record or whatever, and he would just see if they had it and be like, "Oh, you want me to sign that for you?" He was just so
That's so
nice.
sweet.
Yeah.
Wow.
And when I thanked him for everything, because that's what I do when I meet people like that, is just like, thank you for your service almost. And
Yeah.
he just said, you got to do the work that's in front of you. And it was like, I don't know, it was one of those things I just kept in the back of my head of like, if I do what's in front of me, I'm probably doing what I should. And he wrote on my record, "Hi Adam, nice shop," with a thumbs up sign. So I have a copy of the argument that just says, "Hi Adam, nice shop." It's
That's
awesome.
so awesome.
Yeah.
I love stories like that.
That is definitely a perk of being in a record store. You never know.
Yeah.
Elvis Costello came in once too. I was not shocked by him at all, but
Really?
I was just like, that's Elvis Costello.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, what is the best album art that you've ever seen? Is there any that stick out?
Whoa, art. Whoa. Best album art.
It's hard, right?
Yeah.
The first one that pops in my brain is there's this album called Major Arcana that features this beautiful artwork by Dennis Kitchen, who's this underground cartoonist. It's like the most elaborate piece he ever did, from like the mid '70s. Yeah, it's gorgeous. So.
Ooh, this is really
Love all the
tough.
Crass records too. They've got great art.
Man. I don't know. The best album art. There's so many qualifiers. Like, I have this one record of sarangi music, which is like an Indian instrument that you like sort of crank, and it's kind of like a hurdy-gurdy. And the cover is just the guy holding it, but he has this like smirk on his face, like he's holding something he shouldn't have. And like, I love that. But then like, I have this really bizarre record that's on the Yazoo label, which does like old blues music. And it's like on the cover is a picture of a white man and a black man both playing guitar, and the black man has a white face painted on and the white man has a black face painted on. And at first you're like, whoa, but the whole record is about white people trying to impersonate the blues and failing. So it's like this really like subversive take on something that could be distasteful, but it's like, you know, that label, I don't know if you know them, but they have like extensive liner notes, and it's all about like how there was something in, you know, quote unquote black music of that time that like it didn't matter how good of a guitar player was, like you were an imposter in the eyes of everybody. So that album art definitely like stands out as like something that's like powerful to just kind of look at. But man, favorite, I'm gonna just Flaming Lips Embryonic. That's what I'll say.
Nice.
That's a crazy cover.
That is a crazy cover.
And we're just about done here,
Cool.
but okay. Random question. If somebody offered you $1 million to sing, but you had to sing one song all the way through, no mistakes, what would you guys' go-to be?
Elvis Presley, Trying to Get to You.
Okay.
Let's see. It would probably be a Beastie Boys song. I think that's the only thing I could probably do to remember all the words. So.
All three people's parts, you think?
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's
All at once?
amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh. What one would it be?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it. I'd have to do it. Yeah.
Wow. I love that answer.
Something off License to Ill.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Not Fight for Your Right, though.
Definitely not Fight for Your Right.
Yeah, let's be clear.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that.
Maybe Rhyming and Stealing.
Yes, definitely Rhyming and Stealing.
All right. Okay. Those are good answers. Okay. So before I end it, is there anything else that I didn't bring up that you want to talk about, either of you?
No, yeah.
Yeah, we got pretty deep here. It got weird and.
Yeah, we just try to be. We want people excited about music in the store. It's not about like liking the same things we do or even liking what's on. You know, if the only thing you like is ABBA, that's great. If you're excited about it, like I'll get excited about your excitement. And
yeah, if somebody walks into a record store and they're made to feel bad about what they like don't go to that record store. That sucks.
Yeah, we try not to do that. With the exception of maybe Bruce Springsteen.
Okay.
Yeah, I do make fun of him a lot.
All right, fair.
I probably talk people out of buying that.
I mean, we shit talk, but like,
yeah, that's all in jest.
Yeah.
But I've definitely said things about Bruce Springsteen out loud that have led other people to buy his records just to be like, you're wrong, he's the boss. And I'm like, he's your boss, not mine. George is my boss.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you.
It was
fun.
It was a fun interview. Definitely got way more off topic than I normally do.
Cool.
But I don't think that's a bad thing.
Thanks for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and don't forget, you only have to wait 1 week until the next one. I'll be taking you to Shake It Records in Cincinnati, Ohio. So make sure to like or follow Records Near Me on your favorite listening platform so you can stay updated. See you next week, guys! And for those of you wondering how an amateur like me can randomly decide to make a podcast, I've been using Anchor by Spotify. It's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And when hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcast, everywhere. And it's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. Best of all though, Anchor is totally free. So if you want to make a podcast like me, just download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.